If you or someone you know needs help, we here at the Gray Area Podcast urge you to call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Once again, that's 1-800-273-8255.
The Gray Area. The Gray Area. The Gray Area.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Gray Area Podcast. I am, as I've always been, your host, Whisker Biscuit. What's up, y'all? Today we're going to talk about suicide, I think, or maybe we're just going to ramble like a couple of morons. And to do that, joining me today is my good buddy, Stoney motherfucking Keeley. Say hi, Stoney.
Hi. How's it going, Josh?
It's going, man.
Well, I'm happy to have you here.
I don't know what direction it's going, but it's going.
Well, hey, that's, I think the same can be said for all of us.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
Well, I do cover the Tennessee Titans for Pro Football Spot and the WWE for the Wrestling News website. You can follow me on Twitter at Stoney Keeley, and that's StoneyKeeley. So naturally, none of that has anything to do with the issue at hand.
Doesn't matter.
But, I couldn't resist on such an uplifting topic.
Absolutely. Suicide. Everybody should be excited about it.
Yeah. I know I am.
Yeah. I just like it. We'll just ramble about suicide for a while.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. So anyway, let me start out. Let me ask you. You are aware of suicide. It's a thing. People do it.
Oh, yeah. As a psychology major from the Harvard of the South, known as Middle Tennessee State University.
The Harvard of the South.
I am indeed aware that suicide is a thing that afflicts a lot of people.
Indeed. Now, would you say, thinking abstractly here, would you say that suicide is a negative thing, or a positive thing, or both?
I would actually say neither.
Neither.
Yeah. I'd like to add that option to the test here.
Okay, cool.
But it's hard for a guy with my nature to really take a stance on something when I can see positives and negatives for both sides. I think it comes down to the moral issue of good versus evil, and people being told that suicide is evil. I think that's where excuse me.
You're fine.
I think that's where the social stigma comes from. I don't think people realize how much pain people that are driven to suicide are in. So it's a double-edged sword. You say, yeah, suicide is bad, you shouldn't take your own life. But by saying that, you're admitting that these people should live in constant suffering and mental torture. So I can see it going both ways.
Yeah. This is a subject that I'm kind of close to. I've had my own fights with my own demons over the years. I'm not gonna go into that too heavy, but I have a perspective on this. For some reason, where I'm from, West Kentucky, I don't know if we're above some type of national average or below. I don't know any of the statistics, but I do know that we have a lot of people killing themselves. I even know a dog that committed suicide. I don't know if that was through stupidity or whether he was just like, fuck it, I'm tired of it. I don't know. But the fact remains, I know several people that I've been loosely affiliated with, and unfortunately a couple that I was really close to, and one dog that I really liked that took their own lives for different reasons. So It's something that I've thought a lot about and trying to find merits to why these people do the things that they've done, why I've maybe had some of the thoughts and feelings that I've had in the past. And I don't know, just ramble about it, man.
Yeah, and there's a correlation between chronic depression and suicide and certain personality disorders, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, stuff like that. But I think people are too quick to judge it as just an issue of sadness versus happiness. I think that there's a lot of perspective that people could be more sensitive of if someone is showing suicidal tendencies or has actually made attempts to commit suicide. I don't think people realize how much of a sickness it can be, which something I'd like to go over with you later on is the different mind frames and different types of suicide. But pertaining to the question at hand, you know, to me, the question is there something severely wrong, or is it just that seems like the only answer, the only way to make the pain go away?
And just so we're clear, you know, this is not our way of thinking, our westernized way of thinking on it is not the universal way of thinking on suicide.
No.
Like the Japanese have the, if I'm pronouncing it right, harakiri, or it's something like that, H-R-I-K-A-R-I, however the fuck you say that.
Good enough shot.
Yeah, harakiri. just pick the sound with your mouth and go with it. It doesn't matter. But they, I mean, that practice is far different from what Western civilization views as acceptable.
Yeah. And there are a lot of religious overtones as well. The struggle of saying you're going to go to hell if you commit suicide, that kind of stuff. I think, you know, it just depends on the context. There's a lot of things. Yeah. And I think that's just a problem in general society, not necessarily specifically related to suicide. Mental illness in general, you know, there's a stigma with it in society, and it's a shame because there shouldn't be. A sick person is sick, no matter what they're sick with. But yeah, I don't know how I'm trying to frame something in my mind, but yeah. So I think there is that. Because of that stigma, there's a tendency for the sick people not to admit that they're sick, and for the people that aren't sick to judge those that are sick.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. It
like
absolutely
I said,
does.
I told you earlier, there's a reason I'm a writer. I get my thoughts out.
It's all right,
a lot easier on paper.
It's okay. We're just talking here. I know I was going through some things here not too long ago, and I was having a discussion with a close family member of mine, and I was struggling with the merits of ultimately why do I even deserve to live? Why should I live? Now, granted, other than my responsibilities, I am a father, so there's something to be said. If you have responsibility, you're indebted to that responsibility, and if you can physically carry on, maybe you should, unless maybe with if your very existence is hurting your responsibility. I mean, I'm just rambling here, but maybe there should be something to that. But I feel like if you're a father, you're responsible for other life, another human being, then you're responsible. You should stick around and take care of your responsibility and be indebted to that. But getting back to what I was saying initially, I was trying to argue the merits of why should anybody care about me or anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
What's the merit behind that? And he said, and I'll probably remember this forever, either we're all worth saving or none of us are.
Yeah.
So you can pick one or the other. Either we're all worth it or none of us are.
Yeah, and it's kind of, for me, just a frame of mind similar to that. It's the same thing in my life as saying either everything is important or nothing is important.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no in between, especially when it comes to issues like this. So that's pretty crazy that we each have a similar motto,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. But again, it sort of, for me, from a clinical standpoint, it still circles back to whether or not there's a chemical imbalance in the brain that's causing an illness that can be treated versus real world problems, and a sort of a perception of self,
Mm-hmm.
how you see your place in the world and the value that you bring to it, and is that perception worth sticking through the pain, seeking treatment, and perhaps exposing yourself to judgment from those that think that depression or mental illness is just something made up for psychiatrists to make money and for drug companies to sell pills, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I feel like it's different for everyone. I feel like everyone is fighting their own battle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not enough care for it. There's not enough care for it at the individual level.
Mm-hmm. I think there's some people out there who don't want help.
Yeah.
I mean, some people never. I've known people in my life that act out and talk. It's kind of a cry for help thing, or
Yeah.
at the very least, just want fucking attention. Maybe they just want attention. But I've known some individuals who they were fine, they were happy, or they seemed happy, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Were functioning in society, and they just weren't there the next day. Didn't leave any explanation. They just punched out.
And man, I don't even know what to say. I don't know what could be going through someone's mind
Mm-hmm.
to get to that point, to not only feeling a certain way, not only feeling like hurting, the pain is enough to make you want death and
Mm-hmm.
welcome death, but you're going out and putting on a front so that people don't notice. Like that's,
Mm-hmm.
to me, I think it says, what you pointed out. Some people just want to die,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want people saving them.
Yeah. And who's to say whether I don't know that's the right course of action or not.
Whether they should or shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would argue most things in this world can be fixed, but our perception, I mean, there's been documented cases of people supposedly not even having a medical condition, of being depressed or whatever, but just coming to their own conclusion that their existence held no value, and that others' existence held no value, so there was no reason for them to be alive.
Right.
Like,
It's a rational,
Mhm.
logical
Mhm.
decision. Yeah. I think there's a bit of fairness in it. I know
Mhm.
it's hard for me to come out and
Yeah.
say that openly, but I think it's fair to say that. As a guy that finds little value. I don't know how else to say it. I'm just going to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Finds little value in the big picture of human life.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I was explaining to you before we went on the air, it's just, to me, life is just a collection of what's next,
Mm-hmm.
and where do you go from here. And I think you finally get to a point where no matter what your beliefs are,
Mm-hmm.
you get to a point where you can't keep answering what's next. So I don't know. I can understand the rationale,
Mm-hmm.
but as I was also telling you before the show, I think that while we're here, our enjoyment is of paramount importance.
Absolutely.
And I think if there's something that you could enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
then you should live for that and at
Mhm.
least experience it while you can.
Now that's a valid point. One could be so unhappy that with their situation that maybe they can change their situation
Right.
before they consider punching out. And I'm not even. I want to be clear that this podcast, this episode, is not about answers. This is just a dialogue. We're just talking.
Just talking. Just two dudes sharing a beer at a bar.
Yes, this is should no way be construed as we have the right answer. Get it here about suicide. This is just.
I don't think anybody's going to believe my analogy to two guys at a bar. I don't know anybody that goes to a bar to drink with their buddies and talk about suicide.
Absolutely.
But I'm just trying to make people more comfortable. That's what I do.
Absolutely.
I'm interested in knowing, is there a point that people get to where, we said if there's something that you enjoy, it's worth holding on to and experiencing it while you can. Mm-hmm. Is there a point that you can reach where there is nothing in your life that you actually enjoy?
Mm-hmm. And this is for anybody that hasn't read the book or seen it. This is a very interesting question posed in what's the name of it? The Sunset Limited is a book written by Cormac McCarthy, and it's also a movie as well. It's got Tommy Lee Jones and Samuel L. Jackson playing these characters. The characters are white and black. No names. That's just the character, white and black. They're in Black's apartment, and this is the whole book, the whole movie. One is discussing the merits of life, basically, and why one should stay alive. And the other, white, is discussing them, or trying to explain to Black why he wants to die, why, or how life is void of any real reason for going on. It's really profound. If for anybody who hasn't read it or seen the movie, it's really short. It's a short and painless read, and it's a short and relatively painless movie. You should check it out. But yeah, it adds a voice to kind of what we're talking about here. Not just on the I have a problem level, but on the possibility of why is my existence valid at all, and why should I continue this charade?
Yeah, and another name that we talked about, talking about the literature on this, H.P. Lovecraft has kind of the stance of human life as a whole, not just individual issues, but as a whole, human life basically means nothing, and we should all just gleefully walk into suicide as a human race entirely and just rid the earth of humans. And that's a line of thinking that actually made its way onto HBO's True Detective.
That's a good fucking series.
If any of you guys watch that, you'll definitely relate that theory to Matthew McConaughey's character Rust Cole. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the influence on that show came directly from Lovecraft.
Really? I did not know that.
Yep.
I did not know that.
So
I'm just pissed about McConaughey selling cars now. So we're getting off subject of the son of a bitch is such a good actor, and now he's selling Lincolns. God damn it!
And he's handsome as hell too. God,
he's good at it.
Golly,
he's good at it.
So yeah, suicide as an issue, it's not something that we can just simply break down, as I think we're discovering over the course of this conversation.
Yeah.
And compartmentalize it, because sure, there's a lot of cases that involve mental illness, but there's an argument that can be made for a rational, logical conclusion that suicide is the way.
Mm-hmm. This is the gray area. It's neither black nor white.
It's the gray area. I like it.
But, I mean, you can argue in either direction, really. You come to a stalemate. You can say, well, you should live because you might be the one who cures cancer, or maybe you're not the guy who cures cancer, but you're the guy who inspires the next guy to cure cancer. Okay, that's a rational and acceptable argument. But the alternate to that, you might be that guy who cured cancer or inspired the guy to cure cancer, but in 1,000 years, is it going to matter? Whenever the asteroid comes, or whenever civilization as we know it is wiped out, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that's a very real possibility. Civilizations crumble and fall in time frames of hundreds of years, and so many people, so many inventions and things, and even whole buildings are swept away and lost to the oblivion of time. I mean, people like Einstein and Edgar Allan Poe, let alone Stoney and Whisker. I mean, nobody's going to know who we are, and maybe our wonderful invention or the fact that we cured cancer might be, I don't know, completely meaningless later on in life.
Yeah. So
you can make the argument either way. I mean, if we're splitting hairs here, and I'm not talking about mental illness, maybe that's a whole nother gray area, Just rational thought, is our existence worth all the trouble?
Yeah.
I think maybe the answer is yes, and the answer is also no.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's a subjective question, and it's something that I can answer and say, yeah, I want to be here.
Yeah,
I want to continue to watch hockey and watch wrestling and read and do my work and play ping pong and all that stuff.
And you're not wrong. I don't see how you're wrong.
But I can see how it can change from person to person, and
you could see the guy who says my existence is futile and I don't. Maybe I'm void of any. I don't know of any real value, so I'm going to punch out now.
Yeah. Now,
maybe see where that person is coming from. Maybe not agree with it, but can see their argument.
That's what I was going to say. Just having the perspective doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with it. If I were to ever in my life be presented with such a situation, I would at least say, hey, if you enjoy having your cup of coffee in the morning and sitting on the balcony and listening to the birds outside, hold on for that.
Yeah, that's not a wasted life.
Yeah. And it's not to say that I wouldn't try to change their mind, but I could not reasonably argue that what they're saying doesn't make sense.
Yeah. This could be an evolution of natural selection, because we've
Yeah.
We've worked our way into a time and place where we're safer than we've ever been before.
Mm-hmm.
We live longer than we ever have before. And again, this is just a shooting from the hip bullshit theory. But maybe this is just okay, they're not dying fast enough. We're gonna hit the self-destruct button now. You know,
Yeah.
something in our DNA maybe senses that there's too many of us, and we gotta thin the herd a little bit. And maybe this is a part of that element.
Yeah, or, you know, I could add to that by saying maybe there's so many more of us existing on Earth now that there are
more prevalent.
Yeah, and it just and everybody has a voice. Everybody has an opinion, and especially these days, your opinion can, with the rise of social media, stuff like that. Everybody's opinion is going to be out there.
Yeah. And ideas and information moves at a rate that it never has before. You can information is more readily available to me right here, right now, today, than was any president or all the presidents in history for since before the internet really hit its peak.
Right.
I know more than FDR does as a whole. He probably knew some shit about aliens or something that I didn't know.
I like to think so.
But information as a whole moves at a rate that's just at warp speed.
Yeah. But with that growing voice comes ideas that are widely accepted and ideas that are not widely accepted. So if you get to a point where your idea is not accepted, then maybe that's sort of that'll induce this evolution of natural selection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just a theory.
I could be totally full of shit with that one. Don't drink the Kool-Aid on that one just yet. It's just an idea.
I don't know that I would drink any sort of Kool-Aid from what we're talking about.
That's right. That's right. So let me ask you this: now that we've kind of established that we can see the benefits to both sides, what do you think the legislation should be on that? We know we like to legislate shit and say, no, you can't do that, and yes, you can.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know that either way it's going to do any good.
Yeah.
I think if people finally...
You're going to punish a guy.
Yeah, that's...
You can't kill yourself. We're going to put you in jail. You son of a bitch.
You did it. You tricked us. So, yeah, I don't know that it matters, but I think
you're aware that it's illegal to some degree in some places, right?
Yes.
Which is laughable, but
I think it's more about the message that's sent. I think it sends a strong message that suicide is not encouraged. A lot of people don't think it's very healthy, and they want people to know that they think it's a very serious offense. I mean, listen, taking your own life, I'm not trying to make light of it. That's a pretty serious thing.
Yeah.
And I think the legislation is in
That's
place.
going to be the last decision you ever make, potentially.
Yeah. I think the legislation exists for the people that don't commit suicide, if that makes sense. For the people that may be on the brink.
Yeah,
and it may be like, they think about it, well, this is illegal, this is frowned upon, there's a serious social stigma, I'm worried about my soul,
trying to pull people away,
and maybe I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
And if it saves a life that way, that is
that could maybe be turned around.
Yeah, then so be it.
But maybe theoretically could be doing a disservice to someone who is just in pain, whether it be for whatever reason and doesn't want to live, but because they can't stand the thought of being thought negatively about
all the
even
things.
after they're gone.
Yeah. All the awful things, and it goes back to what I said earlier. It's kind of there's still a moral battle, even if you say, "Oh, suicide's not the answer." Shame on you for even thinking about it. If you're saying that, you're still saying, but it's okay for you to live in tremendous pain for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's torture.
Yeah,
that's some level of torture.
It is torture. So that's why I say that it's really a double-edged sword. And really I don't know what the answer is. I think if someone's sick, they should have help available.
Absolutely.
But
I think that's, to me, I'm kind of in this regard with matters of the individual and things that people put in their body or do to their body. I feel like as an adult, as a clear-headed adult, I feel like at the end of the day, nobody has the right to tell you what you can do to your body, what you can do to yourself, what you can do to your consciousness. I've said this before. I'll probably say it 100 more times. It's your dick. You can put in a meat grinder if you want to. I'm not saying that it's a good idea. I feel like information should be out there for you and readily available, free to all, about the dangers of putting your dick in the meat grinder. But at the end of the day, if you are so passionate about your dick going in that meat grinder, then hey, at the end of the day, that's your dick. You put it in there. At
the end of the day, you're having some sausage.
That's right. That's right.
Some dick hamburger.
That's right. Hey, nobody's qualified to tell you what to do with yourself. Or nobody should have that right, I should say. There's plenty of people out there who can give you perspective and who can help you through a tough time or a rough patch or something out there. I don't know who the fuck they are. I'm probably not the one you want to ask. I'll probably say the wrong thing and send you off. But
I feel like that too. I feel like, yeah, don't come to me.
I'll try, but it may be a Pyrrhic victory. It may be a victory at too great a cost.
Oh man. Well, yeah, I can certainly. I've never thought about this in the context of this specific issue. Normally, I'm 100% with you. I'm saying, it's your body, do what you want with it. But I still think, I still don't believe, common sense would dictate that the legislation towards suicide is not geared towards punishing someone that commits suicide. I still think I think it's about the message that it sends to society as a whole, and if that message can save a life that is still salvageable, then I'm for it. I'm okay with that. I don't think they should go in and try to say, say a guy that reaches the logical conclusion to commit suicide that we spoke of earlier. At the end of the day, it's his body. He can kill himself if he wants to. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if there's somebody out there that's struggling and is kind of on the brink, and this in the smallest of way can turn them around, then yes. I want the law in place. If the law's not in place, who's to say this person won't slide towards actually committing suicide and will never realize the potential that they had, or just and by potential, I'm not talking about like workplace, like success, anything like that.
Yeah.
Just the potential for enjoyable life experience. To give that up unnecessarily, to me, would be tragic.
Yeah.
And I think
To think that maybe you could have said, especially a young person, man.
Yeah.
Especially a young person. If all it took was maybe some, I don't know, a healthier relationship, a new job, or maybe doing something you've never done before, or maybe getting some, I don't know, they're correlating testosterone replacement therapy as a means to help combat depression now. If it took something as minuscule as that, and maybe you could have lived a better and fuller life with more potential, and because suicide, it affects you, but if you got anybody out there who cares about you, it affects them as well.
Yeah.
So that's another facet of it. So if you can fix something that's broke and improve the lives of the people around you, then by all means that ability and that information and that outlet should be there for people.
Right.
Even though I do believe in personal sovereignty of an individual to govern themselves on all levels, the ability to fix yourself should be readily available.
Right. And I think it's worth differentiating. This is a lot different for me. Protecting someone in this case is different from trying to get the guy that jumps on his motorcycle without his helmet to make sure he has his helmet on every time he jumps on a bike. Like that's that's something. Okay, you shouldn't have to really dictate that. If that guy wants to wear a helmet, then good, he's being safe. If he doesn't want to wear a helmet, then let his. Well, I was about to go really graphic there. Oh, fuck it. This is gray area. If he doesn't want to wear a helmet, then let his brain splatter all over the road.
Exactly. Well, that wasn't any more graphic than the dick in the meat grinder.
Touche. Touche. I forgot.
But and then yet there's another facet that I think a lot of people have forgotten about, the Jack Kevorkian argument, the assisted suicide with terminally ill patients.
Yeah.
Again, I think personal sovereignty really comes into play with this. An individual knows they're about to reach the end of their life. They're in tremendous pain. They're suffering every day. In my mind, who the fuck are you to tell them that they can't do it? And maybe they need help doing it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to do something that's utterly painless. I'm not an authority on ways to kill yourself, but there are certain substances out there that one can have injected into their body where they essentially go to sleep and just don't wake up, and they stop their heart. That's I think that's what the whole lethal injection is supposed to do. I think. Again, I'm not an authority on this. I said all this for young people, for people reaching the end, and the end is very clear, and they're suffering and pain. At the same time, who the hell am I to tell them that they need to go on living?
Yeah. Yeah, and
this is I can't remember what other places in the world, but this is a thing. I know there's at least one other country that I heard about in Europe that I'm forgetting, that they subscribe to this, that you can get professional help with suicide if you're a terminal patient.
Editor's note. I believe he's referring to the Netherlands, Belgium, and Switzerland all allowing physician-assisted suicide. He may be talking about Switzerland and its non-physician suicide assistance, which notably does not require a particular medical condition, noting that around 25% of people who die by assisted suicide in Switzerland do not have any serious or terminal illness, but are just old or simply tired of life. This is accredited to the Non-Physician Assisted Suicide in Switzerland article by Roberto Andorno. Also, thing he may have missed, according to BBC News from February 6, 2015, Canada is going to allow doctor-assisted suicide as well.
Yeah. It's interesting to stop and think about it, because it does come back to, this comes back to physical pain. And I think if death is a certainty, then by all means, whatever it takes to relieve the pain. I don't think it's anyone's decision to make but the person that is afflicted.
Indeed.
But if they commit assisted suicide, do they still go to jail? I was being facetious.
I don't know what that word means.
They're not going to put a dead body in jail.
Oh.
Now we're there.
Okay, no. Yeah, I was behind. I got distracted by my fucking cell phone, and you ran off and left me. You fucking left me.
We're there now, though.
Yeah.
We're there now.
I don't know. I can find some comedy in that, though. The dead body. Say, you're coming with me. You're not getting out of this one.
Golly, what would
standing him up in front of the judge? Your Honor, this son of a bitch did it. Look at him.
Look at him.
Look at him. He's starting to smell. You can tell he did it.
I was about to say.
No, there wasn't anybody else there. Do you have any objections? See, he can't deny his guilt.
Lock him up.
Lock him up. You're going away forever. See guys in the cell next to me starting to fucking stink. Get him out of here. You shut up. This is his home now.
He's here for life.
Yeah. Can I get some Febreze?
Oh, man. Can you imagine? Oh, I don't know. I don't know where this is going.
I don't know either.
Can you imagine, like, robbing a bank or something and getting thrown in jail with,
oh, my God.
with a dead guy?
That's probably something in some third world rat hole.
Yeah.
There's probably...
Yeah. Golly. Well, I'm glad we can find humor in this topic.
Damn right.
Oh, man.
There's rats eating my cellmate, for God's sakes.
Somebody.
Get me the fuck out of here. I'll talk. I'll pay.
Whatever I've got to do. I'll put my dick in a meat grinder.
Oh, shit.
Man. What about the, is there such a thing as, and I ask this because of, I think it was, I know some Native Americans believe it, and I think it was a pretty prominent idea amongst the Vikings that death was welcomed, and it was a very, what's the word I'm looking for? That they looked forward to death, and there was no more honorable way to die than on the battlefield, or dying for the cause, something of that nature.
Yeah, it made Odin happy.
Yeah,
he thought you were a good dude if you died fighting.
So the morality question, I'm going to use a current real world example because you don't see too many Vikings around pillaging and raping anymore.
Not yet, but I'm practicing.
But in some tribes, you hear about older members of the tribe that are closer to death. Times get tough, and they'll kill themselves so that there's one less mouth to feed, so that the younger people can eat and not have to worry about splitting a share with them. And to me, it's interesting because there's such a negative stigma associated with suicide, but then there are people that are so selfless and giving that they would do something like this for the betterment of others. Depending on what you believe, you're talking about willingly putting your soul on the line. And a lot of religions that dictate, suicide is going to send you to hell, basically. And I still think there is something noble about that. And this isn't something, I'm not talking about like the kamikaze fighters or anything like that, or like the 9/11 suicide bombers or whatever.
The 72 Virgin cat suit.
Yeah, it's just the idea that if I die, it will make those that I love, what's the word? It'll make their
sacrifice.
lives. Yeah, it's a sacrifice to make someone else's life better, and you're willing to risk it all. To me, like that is maybe one of the greatest signs of love.
Oh yeah, definitely.
that you can experience, and it frames the idea of ending your own life in an entirely different way. So there's that too.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, you can make that argument. If you and I dropped dead right now, there would definitely be more pizza in the world.
There would be.
There'd definitely, for me anyway, definitely be more cheeseburgers for my son and daughter and future son to eat. But who's going to give them those cheeseburgers?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You can't win with this argument.
No.
This one, it's, I say tomato, you say tomato. We can't, there's no clear answer to this one.
Yeah, and I think in bringing that up, my point was more just sort of enhancing the broad spectrum of emotion that is tied with this topic, between anger, between depression, sadness, pain. There is still room for love to exist in this facet. And that's how. And there's the self-sacrifice.
And there's the argument of, you say mental illness, being in so much pain that maybe you can't think clearly. Maybe, like I in the past have suffered from earaches. And I've had earaches so painful. And I like to think I'm a man, I can take whatever, but I've had fucking earaches so painful that my ear starts throbbing. Then the pain starts creeping around to my temple starts throbbing. And then it creeps all the way around to the back of my neck, or the back of my head into my neck, and it creeps down my jaw. And it's just this constant pounding and throbbing and throbbing. I can remember feeling like that and being in so much pain that this is not a joke, this is no bullshit. I went to the doctor, and I couldn't get to the doctor quick enough. And I said, I don't care what you do. And I meant it. I said, you can hit me in the head if that's what it takes. This is not any bullshit. I was in so much pain that I couldn't even deal with this person rationally. And I was like, I don't care what you do, make this stop now.
Yeah.
I don't care. So, I mean, was I in, did I have all my faculties about me? I basically told that doctor they could kill me if they wanted to.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different because that would be more of a spontaneous thing. It sounds like more of a fit. Like almost not fully realizing
pain influencing emotion versus common sense.
Yeah, exactly. And it's physical too. It's not something that you're thinking about constantly. It happens, it hurts, and you don't care if you never see the light of day again. Just make it stop. Yeah. That's interesting. That's interesting because, I mean, it's the same thing. Well, it's not the same thing. It's like, what is common practice when a dog or an animal is injured beyond repair?
They put them down.
You put it down because the physical pain is too great, and living in misery is not something. It's considered compassionate. to do the right thing, relieve the pain for these animals. So it's tricky. It's hard to tiptoe around finding any sort of answer.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know that it was ever the purpose to find an answer.
Yeah. At least not in our consciousness that we currently inhabit anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'd like to say, if anybody listens to this, all 5 of you or whoever the hell's going to listen to it, I mean, if you need help, get fucking help.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If it's probably not as bad as you think it is, or maybe I'm full of shit and maybe it is, but at least, you know, go the whole distance with it. Try to fix it before you just throw it away.
Yeah,
that's what I'd say.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that if one does decide to throw it away, it's not for me to judge that you were wrong. But at the same time, I think maybe you owe it to yourself and you owe it to the people in your life that probably care about you to at least go the full distance with it and try to fix it.
Try to fix it and just try to find your happiness.
Yes.
And not what makes others happy or what societal strains have put on the image you have of happiness. It really is as simple as finding something that makes you feel good and clinging to it.
Absolutely. For sure. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this thing up. As always, you can get in touch with us, the Gray Area Podcast at yahoo.com. On Facebook, we are the Gray Area Podcast, or on Twitter at the Gray Area PC. Stoney, man, it's been a pleasure having you on. We'll do this again, and we'll ramble about some other shit.
I'd be happy to. You know, I'm used to talking about football and wrestling and movies and just general nonsense. So
well, you can do that too.
This was
I'm sorry to bring you down.
No, you didn't bring me down. I do. There is a part of me that is a deep thinker, and I like to. I didn't come into this discussion having my mind made up or assuming that what I know about how I think is fact.
Yeah.
I know that I'm a thinker that likes to explore all the angles, and that's what I felt like I was happy to do.
Outstanding. It's such a pleasure, man.
I'm happy to be here. I don't know if I've made a bit of sense. I feel like I've just been thinking.
Neither of us have.
I feel like I've just been thinking out loud for the past 30 minutes or however long it's been. I don't know.
And what's wrong with that?
Nothing. Not a thing.
Not a damn thing.
Not at all.
You got anything that you want to plug or anything before we go?
Well, just tell the listeners they can follow me on Twitter at Stoney Keeley. I do cover the Titans for ProFootballSpot.com, and I cover the WWE for WrestlingNews.co. I do host a podcast called the Sobros Network, and you can find us on Twitter at Sobros Network or check us out on Spreaker. That's SPREAKER.com. Search the Southern Brothers Network. You will find us, and you will find a whole lot of nonsense, and you will listen to an episode and say, why the fuck was this guy talking about suicide and the existence of human life and all the futility of such?
Well, it's because this other weirdo made him do it.
Well, that other weirdo made this, I don't know.
Thank you for trying. There's nothing good to be said about me or anything that I do. Don't even try. Don't try.
I was about to say something.
You'll hurt yourself.
I was about to say something that would put a date and time stamp on this podcast. So
yeah, because we have no idea when this is going to come out.
It could be
This
90
might
degrees.
it might be released after my death, and so I won't have to listen to your criticism. So that would be fine.
There we go.
All right, guys, we're out of here. Thank you.
If you or someone you know needs help, we here at the Gray Area Podcast urge you to call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Once again, that's 1-800-273-8255. This isn't how I planned it. This is not how I wanted this to go.